Shalom. Shalom. Tenakoto. Tenakoto. Tenakoto katoa. My respects to the members of parliament here and former members, to the excellencies, the members of the diplomatic corps, to human rights commissioners, to the mayor of Wellington and Wellington city councillors, to regional councillors, to the UNESCO representative, to faith and interfaith representatives, to honored Holocaust survivors and their descendants, and all other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen and children. Today, the international community commemorates the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. Defeating the Nazi war machine and evil purpose was an effort of many. We mark the ability of the international community to unite, to work for a common goal, and the duty and the imperative of the international community today to continue to work together on the basis of shared values as we face antisemitism and racism, radical forces that spread chaos and destruction, hatred and fear of human dignity and humanity itself. Here in New Zealand, we also commemorate and honor the brave Jewish families who fled the atrocities of the Second World War and traveled to these shores to start a new and better life for themselves. However, it was not smooth sailing from the start. Following the Great Depression, New Zealanders were worried about immigrants taking their jobs. At that time, non-British immigrants were discouraged. And some parliamentarians thought Jewish people would not be easily assimilated into what was a much more homogeneous society than the New Zealand of today. In fact, eventuality proves New Zealand has benefited immensely, as Mr. Mayor has mentioned, from the enterprise and accomplishments of Jewish people who have been able to make this country their home. Sadly, though, antisemitism is a chronic disease. It can be felt still, even here in New Zealand. The only vaccine to it is education. In a recent study by the European Commission and the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, 80% of young Jewish people surveyed in Europe say that antisemitism is a problem in their country and believe it has grown in the past 5 years. 44% indicated that they were targeted at least once in the year before the survey. Yet, startling, very few report such incidents, with 80% opting not to do so. These findings make for grim reading. Recently published figures show us that in the year 2020, anti-Semitic incidents that were reported in New Zealand had doubled from the previous year. We must fight anti-Semitism. And I would like to thank the 34 countries that have already adopted the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism that Mr. Mayor has mentioned. A comprehensive definition that includes all types of contemporary anti-Semitism. And I call on all countries to do the same. This definition is a meaningful tool in the fight against anti-Semitism, both in education and political discourse and in the field of law enforcement. Such an effort can be followed by New Zealand joining the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Together, We will continue to fight antisemitism and racism. We will fight Holocaust denial and distortion. We will educate, and we will remember, so that history does not repeat itself. Among all the chaos, the State of Israel still offers a safe haven for Jews from all over the globe. In the last year alone, over 16,000 Jews, mostly from the United States and Europe, have made Israel their homeland. Israel will forever be the home of the Jewish people. It is where we, Jews, came from, and where we return to after 2,000 years of exile. Dear New Zealand Holocaust survivors, your strength of spirit built houses and planted trees. Your heroism ensured a brighter future for your children and grandchildren, where they could grow and live in this safe and free country. May the memory of the victims of the Holocaust and those who waged war on Nazism be forever in our hearts. Thank you. Shalom. And mihi